Hi everybody, and welcome to another one of my videos. So I've been doing these videos lately in spurts, like 2 or 3 or 5. I think I did 5 once at a time. And it helps me keep up with a regular pace. I'm trying to do like 5 a week if I can't do more than that. Anyway, with that many videos though, I might start repeating myself a little bit. And, you know, one of my pet peeves is I really don't like when people repeat themselves like over and over and over and over again. I hate that. It's one reason why I never liked school, because they just repeat the same shit for the dumb kids again and again and again. So I never did homework in school because it was just more repeating. It's like, if you tell me something twice, look, I've got it or I'm never going to get it. Okay? Most things I'll get the first time if I hear you. Some people will mumble or slur or whatever. I don't get it the first time. But anyway, that said, I will cover topics that I've covered before, but I'm going to try to cover them in new ways. You know, to me, everything's always up for debate. And like I said, I'm not trying to give lectures here. I'm trying to start conversations, and I'm sure those conversations will start. I'm already starting to get, you know, the comments are trickling in. The feedback is building up. And hang on a second. God, don't you have a nice clean towel? Speaking of which, yeah, the feedback's been coming in. It's been good, and so I got a little distracted there. Sorry about that. So, you know, I'm always adding data and I'm always changing the big picture, at least for me. And, you know, I try to be one of those people, and I'm not saying I always am. I say try. I try to be someone who's always got an open mind. And if new data comes along and a better argument comes along, or the debate changes and I acquire new data, I'm willing to change my mind. I'm willing to adjust my argument. I mean, at heart, I'm a scientist. At heart, I'm an artist. So to me, the creative outlet is as infinite as the scientific possibilities, if that makes any sense. So yeah, I'm always willing to add to whatever I am discussing, and that may change things. It may cause me to, you know, cover stuff I've already covered before, but hopefully I'll be covering it in a new way. And if I do repeat myself verbatim, then call me out on it, and I'll try to adjust. You know, but sometimes some things need to be said again. You know, if I covered a topic, you know, 30 videos ago, you know, I may need to remind someone about where I stand on that. So anyway, enough caveats. Let's get to today's topic. Today's topic is a sensitive one. I feel like some of these videos I'm kind of poking the bear and trying to get the video overlords to kick me off. I mean, that would be some nice free advertising if anybody had any clue who I was and anybody cared if I got kicked off. But anyway, if I got kicked off of any of the video platforms right now, nobody would even notice. But I digress. Today's topic is slavery. Now, we are in the 21st century, and slavery is a very different thing than it was even in the 20th century. And even today in other parts of the world, what I will call overt slavery, where you're in chains, or even if they're not actual chains, you are being held against your will. And, you know, there's lots of ways to do that. And so that's what I'm going to call overt slavery. Now, there's other kinds of slavery, and that's mostly what I'm going to talk about today. And that's what I call covert slavery. It's where you might not even know you're a slave. I mean, you know it on some level, but you wouldn't call it slavery. You would use whatever you could to call it something else, because admitting that it was slavery would just make your head explode. You know, you may have heard the term wage slavery, and that's a very real thing. And it's not just for people who work at fast food joints. It's for most people. I was talking to a friend of mine earlier today, and he's got a pretty good head on his shoulders. He does a lot of research and doesn't just swallow things as they're given to him. He definitely goes and looks for the true meaning behind stuff, maybe a little too much. And anyway, I was talking to him today about this whole idea of this COVID vaccine, and I said, you know, I'm glad that I have built a life for myself where I can't be extorted into taking this thing. Like, I'm not going to take the vaccine. I don't know who's in charge of this. It's funny that they're acting right now like it's going to be shorthanded, like it's going to be like a new video game system or something where, oh, you got to rush in line, you got to get in there early. People are going to be fighting for this vaccine, and you know, because they're doing that, there will be people that are dumb enough to fall for the whole thing, and there are people that are terrified of this mild sickness. I mean, believe me, it's a bad sickness when you get it, but it's not killing anybody. And that was the whole point of the fear to begin with, was that it was going to kill all these millions and millions of people, and it hasn't, and it won't. Anyway, the whole point of me bringing that up, that's a whole other topic. But, and I might cover that today too in another video. But my whole point was that I'm not a slave. But people that are, and you can tell you're a slave when, if you don't want the vaccine, but you have to get it anyway, to go to work, to have your kids go to school, to just be in certain places at certain times, in certain ways, to go out to eat, to do the things that you want to do. Yeah, this is a whole new level of covert slavery they're laying down on us. So there's a big argument about the Civil War in America, the one that happened back in the 1860s. Not the one going on right now, or getting ready to go on right now. We'll see. I truly believe it's way more of a revolutionary war that we're going to be fighting here, and it's going to be mostly electronic, rather than what they call a hot war with guns and explosions. But it's a war more of ideology than anything. A revolutionary war of ideology is what is coming along. Anyway, the Civil War from the 1860s, everybody says these days, oh, it was all about slavery. Yeah, I mean, you know, slavery was a big part of it, but it was more, and I'm not going to go and play cult member of the other side and say, oh, states' rights, states' rights. It's funny how we're going through states' rights things again now, with states' rights to subvert the Constitution, and states' rights to manipulate the elections, and states' rights to arrest people for things that aren't even illegal. I think states' rights used to mean nothing to most people, but it's becoming quickly an obvious thing. Anyway, states' rights was definitely a big part of the Civil War. And after the Civil War, things changed a lot. You know, the whole idea of the states was the states were kind of like the European countries in that they were sovereign. But they had agreed to become the United States of America. And that union was voluntary. So that when the southern states seceded to start the Civil War officially, nothing should have happened other than new taxes on both sides and tariffs and essentially a Cold War, if you will. The hot war, that was a whole other thing. And people now, with their revisionist history, they act like it was fought for slavery and slavery alone. And again, yeah, that is part of it. I'm not going to deny that was part of it. The whole Emancipation Proclamation thing was more of Lincoln just sticking it to the South. Lincoln didn't really care about the slaves, not them as people. He didn't. And you can see from a lot of the things he wrote and a lot of the things he said that he did not look at the black people that were held as slaves as on the same level as so-called white people or free men. You know, it was more about your paperwork than the color of your skin. It just so happened to be that all of these slaves from Africa were black because they had the paperwork that said that they belonged to somebody. Anyway, basically the North figured out that they could just enslave the entire South. Black, white, Indian, all of them. And that's how they were acting. The fact that they act so high and mighty, like they were so benevolent that they wanted to free the black slaves that were being held in chains. No, they didn't. And even after the Civil War was over, that didn't really happen. I mean, slavery never disappeared, first of all. If you study it, everybody in prison that's imprisoned by the state, and when I say the state, I mean the feds, I mean the individual states, everybody imprisoned by the state is a slave. On paper, they are chattel. They are owned by the state. They can be forced into labor. They can be forced into doing anything, not just being locked up. They can be forced into making license plates or crack rocks. You know, they mostly don't do that kind of physical thing anymore because there was so many injuries, and there is you know, liability there. So they try to keep them doing safe things like phone tech support. Yeah, a lot of those people that you hear when you're relieved to get an American on the phone when you're doing tech support, a lot of times it's somebody in prison who is getting paid nothing. I mean, meager change, less than $1 an hour, like not a real wage, like just scraps. And this is slavery. It's very much slavery. You know, the supposed vice president that was supposedly elected during our fraudulent election recently, she, you know, one of the things she's famous for is that she kept people in prison out in California beyond their release date just so they could work as slaves. Keep that in mind. This woman, who is supposed to be so woke and so progressive, enhanced well, I'm not even going to say enhanced, abused and twisted laws to keep people as slaves. Yes, effectively they were her slaves, because I'm sure she was getting some kind of kickback. And, you know, that's not even to mention that her family, through the history of her family, they kept actual overt slaves. And you know what? The prison industrial complex, whatever you want to call it, those people are overt slaves. They're locked up against their will. They're forced to work against their will. You know, that's where the real problem is. It's not racism, and it's partially classicism, whatever. It's partially that too, but it's just the abuse of this concept of keeping people to doing things and exploiting them against their will. And it's done in so many ways. You know, if you want to add up all the different ways, it boggles the mind. So much so that I contend that there really isn't much freedom left in this world. And all this COVID stuff coming through right now, the masks, the mandates, the vaccine, the fear, the snitching, the anger, the rioting, the looming wars. This is all designed to further enslave, guys. And so the same friend that I was talking to about this kind of stuff today, I reminded him about something my dad told me, and I might have mentioned this in another video. You know, I was trying to red pill my dad back in the early 2000s, and he got really upset with me, and then he was got introspective and he said, well, you know what, Jesse, you savaging beast, you know all this stuff, what are you going to do with it? And I remember that blew my mind. I wasn't ready for that kind of response. You know, I was at that point, I was a young guy. I was very aggro, and it was such a measured response. I didn't really know how to respond, but I got back to my dad the next day, and I said, Dad, you know, I gave him a very like hippie answer. I was like, Dad, I just want to be a light in the darkness and do what I can to illuminate. Well, you know, here I am almost probably 20 years later from that comment, and I feel like I'm doing what I can in that regard, but it's getting more and more difficult, even for me. Like I said, I've crafted a life for myself where I make my own living. I don't have a boss. I don't have anybody that can hold a job over my head. I don't have any kids that I can be, extorted for. I'm happy being at home. I'm happy being by myself. You know, I don't have a partner that's going to be guilting me into doing things. And, you know, I've kind of flourished this year, honestly, with all this COVID stuff. I know I've mentioned this in other videos, and I mean, I'm not sorry about it. I had a really fucking hard 2019, and even a lot of the years before that weren't that easy either. But having everybody else get so crushed, it's actually given me a little bit of room to wiggle out and kind of do my own thing. And, you know, I feel proud when I walk around without a stupid fucking face diaper. I feel proud that I can do the things that I want to do when I want to do them. And I'm glad and lucky that I live in a conservative area where people basically let me do what I want as long as I keep to myself. You know, this whole country used to be like that. I moved here from a town of fucking busybodies who have gone way off the deep end this year. And I feel like I was psychic getting away from there finally, escaping from that fucking liberal hellhole that has just descended into madness, absolute madness. I heard the other day there's a snitch line where you can call on people that aren't wearing masks. Like, how do you know they don't have a medical condition? How do you know they don't have some kind of reason why they can't wear a mask? How do you, and even beyond that, why is it your business to fucking meddle in their lives? You know, if you see somebody without a mask and you're afraid of getting sick, turn around and walk in the other fucking direction. It's really easy. Or I'll tell you what, if one mask on one person and another mask on another person is going to somehow prevent sickness, put on 2 masks, genius. There you go. Now you've precluded the need for anybody else to ever wear a mask. You've got 2 of them on. 2 face diapers. Congratulations, you're a fucking star. Ugh. And this looming, it is all slavery, folks. It hasn't gone anywhere. It didn't disappear after the Civil War. It just got hidden. If you could ask anybody who worked as a sharecropper in the 1870s and 1880s after the Civil War ended, ask them how much better their life was, I bet you'd be surprised at the results. I'm not going to assume what they would say. I'm sure somewhere out there are interviews with people like that. I haven't bothered to even read them. I don't need to. I know what they did to those people. The sharecropping was actually a worse deal than being a slave. Because, and believe me, I am not going to defend the covert slavery that existed before the Civil War. I'm not going to do that. But at the very least, those people were taken care of. Under sharecropping, you might have worked just as hard and not had anybody to take care of you. Like, and that's where we're going now. I only mentioned that. I tiptoed through that one. I only mentioned that because the people that are supporting this push towards slavery right now, they think that they're going to be taken care of. They think that they're going to have things paid for. They think that this communism and this totalitarianism, which is building, they think it's going to wipe their butts and pay their bills. Well, it might do that for a little while, but just like every one of those of those ideologies, it will fall apart. It will destroy itself. And ultimately, it won't be taking care of you. It'll still be pushing you around. It'll still be telling you what to do, but it won't be giving you anything back. Nothing. You think what's going on now is bad and you want to give up some of your freedoms for a little temporary comfort? Folks, it's going to be a lot more like slavery than you think. And, like I said, I'm glad I'm not part of it. And I will be heading out to the woods as soon as I can. You'll see me broadcasting from a little log cabin instead of my desk here. And I'm not in the city. I mean, I'm in the country here, but it'll get more remote and probably less often. But yeah, I for one, am not going to put up for it. And they'll have to fucking kill me. They'll have to hold me down and tase me to get me to take a shot of anything. You know, you want to have somebody cough in my face with COVID so I can get sick and go through that process? Man, I'd rather do that than take a vaccine. That's how you develop a natural immunity. That's how we develop a natural herd immunity. You know, they've never been able to, this is another video. Look, I'm going to make the next video probably about COVID. But anyway, it's just another step towards covert slavery. And it'll unfold itself in overt slavery eventually once they run out of freebies to hand out. And you'll see that. And that was the whole point I was trying to make. That was the full circle I was trying to take there. That makes any sense. I know I rambled a little bit there. Anyway, look, guys, blah, 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 blah. I love you. I mean it. Catchphrases and all. And I'll see you next time.